The visiting team this morning will be the Minnesota Fire, while Great Plains will appear on the home side of the scoreboard. Now, first, your starting lineups for visiting Minnesota Fire. Starting in goal, number 40, Landon Huber. Starting on defense, number 12, Landon Cottingham. And number 24, Jonas Cole. Starting on the wings this morning, number 19, Michael Mikan. And number 13, Cooper Siegert. And starting at center, number 6, Conrad Fondrick. The Minnesota Fire, coached by Jesse Ramirez. Let's welcome the rest of the squad. Now starting for the home team, Great Plains. Starting at goal, number 30, Logan Nolan. Starting on defense, number 2, Cullen Ingridson. And number 14, Henry Peterson. Starting on the wings, number 9, Owen Corkish. And number 11, Ryder Pencil. Starting at center, number 25, Gavin Core. Great Plains is coached by Ben Wyand. Let's welcome the rest of the team. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you stand as you are able and please remove your caps for the playing of the Stars Spangled Banner.
It's a great day for hockey here in Bloomington, Minnesota. My name is Eric Zamora, bringing you the play-by-play of the U12 Gold Division Championship game. It's the Great Plains versus Minnesota Fire. And we'll go ahead and take a look at how these two teams got here. Great Plains will be the home team based on goal differential, but both of these teams have been perfect to this point with 3-0 records in pool play and then picking up the victories in the semifinals to advance. Great Plains in the tan uniforms with black numerals, and they are moving from left to right. This will be controlled into the zone. Quick shot on by Betzold, who is the starting right wing for the Great Plains squad, centered by Gavin Core. On the opposite side, Owen Corkish. At right defense is Henry Peterson. On the left side, Cullen Ingridson. And in between the pipes, Logan Nowlin. At the other end, the Minnesota Fire in red uniforms with black numerals and a little bit of white trim going from from right to left. And they will go with a top line of Conrad Fondrick centering, with Cooper Siegert and Michael Mikan, his wings. On the left side defensively, Jonas Cohn and Landon Cottingham. And they strike early. Thrown over and deep at the right circle. Nowlin didn't look like he was quite set in time. And Minnesota Fire get on the board. Picking up the goal is Luke Myers, his second of the tournament, 5th point on the weekend. And it comes just a minute and 4 seconds into action and gives the Minnesota Fire the 1-0 lead on the face-off taken by Luke Myers, controlled, however, by the Great Plains squad. And this is quite honestly unfamiliar territory for the Great Plains squad. We'll see how they respond to adversity. They were victorious in their first game by a score of 2-0 over the Green Bay Junior Gamblers. They then rolled over Black Bears 7-1 and True North 6-1. I called their semifinal victory yesterday over Team Wisconsin. They won that matchup by a score of 6-3, but it was a game in which they never trailed. So this is a spot that the Great Plains squad not necessarily familiar with, and a team that has been good over the years, as they've also had a ton of success when they have come here for the North American Hockey Showcase, the show, one of the traditionally best teams around. So we'll see how this Great Plains team responds. Into the offensive zone goes Core. Core looks to dish over, and the netminder is there for the cover. Hubert sliding from left to right ever so slightly, didn't have to go post to post, but was in a good position. He will take the faceoff to his left. 2.5 minutes gone by, and the goal scored by Myers. The lone assist goes to Max Anderson. Anderson now with his 4th point here at the Western States Invitational. Half of them coming in the form of assists, and half of them coming in a pair of goals that he has scored in pool play, as well as a Minnesota Fire team that needed a comeback, not a comeback of late or dramatic proportions, but they did give up the first goal in that semifinal victory over the Junior Gamblers of Green Bay, Wisconsin, then came back for 4 unanswered. Core sends one that would have been over the crossbar and likely clanged off the glass behind him, but Huber doesn't want to see where that would have kicked out as a rebound, and so he gloves it and will take the whistle. The faceoff will come to the right of the netminder. Looking to slide it along was Landon Cottingham. He's got a couple of points, a goal, and an assist in the 4 previous games. We'll have the championships for the U15 and the U14 Gold Division as well broadcast here today at Youth Hockey Hub. This is an outlet pass that misses his intended target. Mikan, the left-handed shot, was where they were trying to get that, a little bit to the right of his reach. It will go down for icing with 11:18 left, and we'll go right back to where we were moments ago. The draw taken by Conrad Fondrick, and that is certainly the player to watch here for the Minnesota Fire. A rebound loose, and fortunately there, it was off the mark and the net came off. What I mean by that is that would have been a tough break and a tough decision had that slipped into the net just as the net was coming off its moorings. More than likely, it wouldn't have been a goal, But the Minnesota Fire probably would have felt a little shafted that they'd been able to get it over the goal line and the net popped off in time. Fortunately, no controversy there as that one did skim wide. But this U12 division has seen some fantastic games to this point. And this is the culmination of two teams that all they've done to this point is win. 4-0 records, perfect in pool play, and then victorious in their semifinal. Great Plains. A slow pass across. KJ Sauer gets there in time to advance the gameplay, although not able to get it too deep. As we take a look at this Western States Invitational stats, snapping a shot and it's in. Scoring from the left circle is Gavin McNeil. McNeil gets his second goal of the tournament, and it comes at a crucial juncture at 5:01 of the first period. Again, talking about how this Great Plains squad is used to playing with a lead. And they've got themselves that with, not a lead, but cut away the deficit. And fighting off another shot is Huber. So McNeil with the goal. Offsides the call. Tommy Picanato with his second point. Both helpers in this tournament. And we've got ourselves a face-off coming just outside the Great Plains blue line. Tangled up is Fondrick, and he will go down hard into the boards, and that will draw a penalty. I believe we're going to have tripping the call here. And the guilty party is Peterson. Henry Peterson with an assist in his 4 previous games, and he'll have to watch from the box. Head coach Ben Wind, former coach of the Minnesota Magicians, calling the shots for Great Plains. Assistant coach John Clares, who coached the Orono Pee-wees to a state championship last year. 9 minutes and 21 seconds on the clock when the penalty was taken, so 5:39 time of the penalty. We play 15-minute periods here, and couple of changes now that we're out of pool play. As this is survived by the Fire, they keep it alive, and looking to cycle it deep was Cottingham. He'll then throw his body into the boards, but unable to prevent that puck from squeaking through. One difference is that the teams now have a timeout in their pocket should they choose to use it. Here's a turnover and bring it back into the zone is Corton. 55 seconds left on the man disadvantage for Great Plains, and they seem to be gelling well. Here's a PK unit. Minnesota Fire into the offensive zone. Drop pass. Had to be careful there. Collision of bodies, but everyone no worse for the wear. Fed over. A drive and kicked out by the netminder. Thrown up, not quite out. Centering pass, and this will be played out of the zone. Backhanded up and deep. And we will have an icing call going against the Minnesota Fire. And back into the zone 23 seconds before Peterson comes out of the box. From the left of the netminder. And backing up to make the play was Garrett Lindberg. offside. And they'll back it up as he was back below the red line when throwing it in. They don't want to, in that essence, typically an offside is called at the blue line, but you don't want to give them that extra zone. And in essence, reward a team and move the puck deeper because of an offside. This is a shot handled by Nowlin. Snapping that on was Andrew O'Neill. He's got 4 points and a couple of goals in that process. Conrad Fondrick of the Minnesota Fire leading the gold division of this tournament in goals and points, 9 and 13 respectively. Everyone in the U12 division except Colin Potter of the Junior Gamblers Silver Division. And turning and firing, wasting no time, is O'Neill, and he sends that just a little north of the crossbar. Logan Nowlin hugging his right post and using his helmet there at the top. Typically, goalies at a little older level able to plant their shoulder there. Nowlin giving up a little bit of size to his counterpart, Landon Huber, who is crouched down and now back up as he watches this one go to his right side. Looking to chip that out is Max Anderson. Great Plains keep it in the offensive zone. They'll look for a centering play below the goal line, but Luke Myers doing a nice job back checking, breaks that up. This one will be kicked out. And a pass, getting just a piece of it, was Stanius to get it out of the play and out of the zone. It comes right back in, and Great Plains whistled for the offsides. That'll stop action here with 6 minutes and 8 seconds remaining in our first period. Stay with us in between periods, as we will have just a 60-second break between the first and second frame. It's between periods 2 and 3 that we will have our longer break, where we will actually have a resurfacing. The Fire looking to defend and doing just that, as that was knocked down, and it springs an offensive opportunity. 3-on-2 the other way if they hurry. And caught there a little awkwardly by Nowlin, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and that's why it looked as awkward as it did. It didn't catch him in the equipment where he wanted to. Actually hit him on the blocker hand and then went down into his leg pad. And from there, he wanted to remain as still as possible. This will be a drive from the point and saved by the netminder, and the rebound swept away from that Cottingham offering. Cottingham with a drive from the right side, and Great Plains able to get out of the zone into the offensive zone, but it's a brief stay as we battle now at neutral ice. Couple of players in, Lindbergh, and he'll be backed up by Peterson. Peterson checks over his right shoulder, sees the pressure, and quickly releases up the right wing side. Peck able to somehow get that around his man. Peck walks in, fires a shot, as he had a couple of defenders in his face through traffic, hoping that he could get to a rebound and have a second opportunity. Nothing doing, as Landon Huber holds on to that with 4:46 remaining in period number 1. And again, the other big difference, other than the overtime, is this is flicked on to Huber, and somehow able, through all those bodies and sticks, able to track that and squeeze that one shut. The other big difference, obviously, is that we have to have a champion. There will be no draws at this portion of the tournament. So we will have, if need be, if the score remains tied after 45 minutes of play, we'll have a 3-minute running time 4-on-4, followed by a 3-minute running time 3-on-3, And then a drive in the slot that is blocked, absorbed by the defense of Minnesota Fire as Will Corton pointed his stick toe to the rafters before letting that one go. Should the 4-on-4 and 3-on-3 overtime sessions not decide a winner, then we would go to a 3-man shootout. However, a long time away from really needing to get into overtime format, as knockdown on the play is Tommy Picconato. Picconato with the lone assist for Great Plains to this juncture. Into the right corner, pulling it away is Jensen. Jensen, left-handed shot, tries to feed a puck up the slot, unable to get it much further than that, as Minnesota Fire able to softly send it down the length of the ice to negate any icing call. This is a pass by Peterson that was picked off, but then too much of a first touch by Thomas Kurtz and brought back in. Here's O'Neill. O'Neill with it on his backhand, feeds it over, and then gets it right back. Has a man cutting in front, and a great look as he had options there, both Stanius and Fondrick in the slot. Fondrick takes a shot and whistles it wide of the cage. Kurtz on his backhand, able to keep working it lower and lower now from the goal line, and Fondrick will feed the opposite side point. Stepping up was Sorrentino. Knocked off the play. Great Plains back into the offensive zone. Jensen thought he could move around a man and had his pocket picked. Here's a loose puck, and this will give Kurtz time and space. Coming up with speed from the right, slaloming through the middle of the ice, cutting from the circle, and then by the time he gets there, nobody to dish to, as the Minnesota Fire were in need of a change and got one. They're going to call that a puck played with a high stick, and that'll bring it back down into the Minnesota Fire defensive zone with 1:50 remaining in the first period. My name's Eric Zamora, bringing you the play-by-play. Greg Tinty, our camera operator, engineer, and producer. This draw, one back to the Great Plains left side, and a shot attempt blocked as it's scooped up by Lindbergh. Betzold feeds that over, and a nifty behind-the-back pass allows Great Plains to keep this rolling. 90 seconds left to go in our opening period, as the two teams have traded goals from Myers and McNeil to get us to a 1-1 score. Again, a 2019 Western States Invitational U12 Gold Champion will be crowned here in just over 2 periods of play, or perhaps we'll need to go even further to come up with a winner. So far, we've been treated to a fantastic game, as it's been close action, back and forth, ebbs and flows of the game coming up. Driving and off the mark is Lindbergh, as I'm not sure he was necessarily expecting a goal there, but trying to throw it towards the net and see if he couldn't get a fortuitous bounce, but none to be had, as he sent it a few feet wide of the netminder. Chipped in and just shy of the red line, so it will be an icing call. And with 34.6 left in our opening frame, the Minnesota Fire, if there's been one advantage you can give the Great Plains squad, it seems like, especially as of late, they've had a lot of face-offs in the offensive zone. So possession being noticeable, as we've had, at least on the stoppages, a lot of back and forth for sure. But when the draws have come, they seem to be coming to our right. Peck, stick handling in, but a nice job getting back and showing his value at both ends of the ice is Fondrick. Fondrick, the division's leading scorer, but sound defensively as well. Centering pass that they can't connect on, and the period will come to an end. We'll step away from the mic for 60 seconds and be back with the second period. 1-1. And we will come back with more coverage of the Western States Invitational right here on Youth Hockey Hub. Here, the Bloomington Ice Garden, one period in the books. Minnesota Fire out shooting Great Plains by a total of 8-7, and they got on the board first. It was Luke Myers scoring from the low portion of the right offensive circle for Myers. That's his second goal, 5th point of the tournament. Lone assist going to Max Anderson, who's got as many goals and just one shy, 4 points to Myers' 5. And then Gavin McNeil got things knotted up with his second goal, the Western States Invitational. Tommy Picanato picking up the lone assist on that one at the 5:01 mark to draw Great Plains even. Great Plains in the tan uniforms, black numerals, white trim, going from right to left here in period number 2. We started with 15 minutes on the board. 30 seconds have elapsed. Great Plains will feed it to the point. Clares has a shot blocked out front. And one of the things that we'll see if this comes to fruition, as with pool play, sometimes you've got some teams matched up against each other that aren't really at the same skill or development level. Because of that, the games sometimes get a little bit one-sided, and I think that tends to lead players to be a little more careless, a little more reckless, and sometimes can lead to a parade of players going to the penalty box. Here, these two teams know that they cannot afford, with a tough opponent in front of them, they can't afford to be killing off too many penalties. The opposition, too talented, will make them pay in a tight game. Again, Minnesota Fire coached by Jesse Ramirez, Ben Wind on the bench for Great Plains. So I would imagine that you're going to be talking about a couple of coaching staffs that said before this game really got to be tight, as a save made by Nowlin with the glove and it goes into the corner. The last thing they want to do is find themselves digging a hole and playing a lot of special teams time, and because of that, wouldn't be surprised if we see fewer penalties here. From the top of the right circle, shot taken, missing on the glove side of Nowlin. And that takes a fortuitous bounce as sweeping over. I don't think Peck was intending to get that touch on it, but it bounces to a teammate. They get a clearance out of the zone. Peck now with it, trying to walk into the offensive zone, and had to, at that last second, pull the puck back towards himself because of the reaching in attempted poke check that caused the timing to be off and Great Plains to be offside as they entered the zone. In on the face-off is Core will win it back for Great Plains. They go D to D. Pass picked off, intended for Core. Stepping up was Kurtz. Bodies get tangled up behind the goal line. 2.5 minutes gone by here in a scoreless second period. We remain knotted up at 1 apiece. Corkish fires, kicked out. No problem there for Landon Huber. The big right pad down in plenty of time and good control with the rebound. This will be broken up by Lindbergh. Lindbergh tries to force it up the right wing side, but because the Fire had platooned a couple of bodies there, not able to get that through. We've got a handoff as Betzold fed from Corkish. Betzold knocked down on the play and tied up by Thomas Kurtz. Kurtz using his size advantage to pin Corkish into the corner. Weaving through, upended was Minnesota Fire's Mikan. Thought we might have seen a penalty call there, but the officials in good position say that the contact inadvertent, thrown towards the net. Right idea, as Cole Bronshausen was offering that one up, calling for it at the point, snapping a shot, and a glove save by Nowlin. Fire's Cunningham communicating well, letting his teammate know that he had a lane and adjusted well. The pass was a little bit too far inside for Cunningham to let it go, but was able to readjust and get a good look off. But Nowlin able to snag it and in tight. Nowlin making himself big, throws himself down onto the ice surface and occupies as much real estate up close to that puck as possible, cutting down the angle. And that's how a goalie of his size can fill as much of that net as he does. As you get that close to a netminder, if he's sound and doesn't offer you any holes, you're not going to be able to find a lane. Minnesota Fire in those red jerseys, black numerals, white trim, turn the puck over in the offensive zone. Winding through is McNeil, the goal scorer for Great Plains. Kicked out by Huber. Picanato tries to one-time it, can't. And now the Fire. Coming in the other way is Bronshausen. He will get that just to the depth of the circle and then backhands it deep. Jensen and Great Plains trying to catch Fire in transition. Tries one move too many and it is picked off. Heading the other way. O'Neill leaves it there, and taking the shot denied was Jack Stanius. Great Plains will try it from the opposite side. Here's McNeil walking in, a drop pass, and the recipient wasn't expecting it at first, had to adjust quickly, or otherwise that would have been a costly turnover and sprung Minnesota Fire the other way. They will get out of the zone and further to the red line into the offensive zone, waiting from a sharp angle, and that'll be steered clear by the stick of Nowlin as he guides that over to the boards along his left side. Great Plains looking for a breakout pass at neutral ice, and having to wait is Stanius, just bringing it over and then having to pull it back to himself. We will have an offsides call with 9:06 remaining here in the first period. Western States Invitational would like to thank all of our sponsors, including Map South Hockey, found online at mapsouth.hockey, and Little Locker Room, a family-owned business located in Minnesota. You can find them online at littlelockerroom.com. And we're going to have a penalty on the way. I believe Corkish will be the guilty party with 8 minutes and 49 seconds remaining. in our second period. That is indeed the Great Plains player headed to the sin bin, and an opportunity here for the Fire to try to gain their second lead of the game. They have not trailed to this point on the power play opportunity. Brought into the zone. Betzold has his pocket picked, and the roughing penalty giving the Fire here a special teams chance. 35 seconds, minute 35 left on the man advantage. Firing a shot right on with a skimming shot was Myers. He's got the goal for Minnesota Fire. He gets tangled up. A play that perhaps if it's even strength might be called. Definitely unlikely that it would be whistled with the Fire already on the man advantage. Whether you like that or not, it's usually a little bit harder to get that second penalty call. Great Plains looking to get it out of the zone. Held in by Brady Sorrentino. And Minnesota Fire working it behind the goal line. Great Plains trying to get it out. And we'll get it to a little beyond center ice, but not really an opportunity for them to get a change. They will bring one fresh body onto the ice. That's KJ Sauer. He will step up and just tie up the puck for a moment. Then it looked like the Fire were late to get it over. Cone does get there. And again, here in the second period, longest changed, most difficult opportunity for teams to kill penalties, as their bench is the furthest from the defensive zone. But out of the box is Corkish. Wheeling and winding is Cottingham. He gets tangled up with Sauer. A rugby scrum ensuing right in front of the Great Plains bench. Officials asking the players to keep moving their feet, keep digging away at it. And we're probably pretty close unless this is poked free of a whistle, and it does eventually come loose. Just like a jar of pickles, time and pressure. Missing on a tough angle shot, Ingebrigtsen able to keep it alive in the offensive zone. Couple of players inadvertently get tangled up, and chipping this out and ahead. And Jonas Cone thought about trying to take off and spring himself, then realizing his defensive responsibility is probably best to wait. Here's Jensen. Jensen with a rising shot, and the netminder popping back up, getting a piece of it. I believe that went off of his throat dangler. 5:47 left to go in period number 2. It has been a scoreless second frame. Myers for Minnesota Fire. Minute 4 into the first period. Equalized by Gavin McNeil at 5:01. Also in the first, chasing back and wrapping it around his boards, Danny Clares. Clares, the son of Coach John Clares, into the offensive zone. Jensen leaves it there for Clares. Back to Jensen from a tough angle. The net comes off. And again, I have to say, as an impartial, neutral spectator, I'm glad a goal wasn't scored there, because there's nothing more frustrating than ripping one into the cage and then having it waved off anyway. So as that puck squirted to the backside, I'm thinking, oh no, here's going to be an opportunity off because of the net. Now in is O'Neill. O'Neill fights off one man, bounces the puck over, backhand, and it's in! From the seat of the ice celebrating is Jack Stanius. O'Neill did a fantastic job of using his strength and warding off the contact. He was able to fire and missed, but missed perfectly, because that rebound bounced out to Jack Stanius, and Stanius had that one rolling away from him. He had to quickly, as a right-handed shot, that's an easy goal as a lefty, really tough, and he was able to get just enough of it. It wasn't the hardest shot goal you're going to see all weekend, but it gives Minnesota Fire a lead here in the championship game. They're on top 2-1 with 4:40 left to go in our middle period. They'll feed it back to the point, and the Fire not done trying to add to the lead. Flung towards the net. The offering coming from Sorrentino. It goes into the corner, and we will have a whistle. I believe this was played with a high stick, so that'll send it all the way down into the Minnesota Fire. And it was just going to say that the goaltending on both ends of the ice has been phenomenal. Landon Huber and Logan Nowlin. And glad that I hadn't said that right before Nowlin scored. I know there are some who are a little superstitious, and now an odd man developing and scoring on the back end of that for Minnesota Fire is Cooper Siegert. Great patience shown there by Fondrick on the feed, and that's a tap-in goal for Cooper Siegert. One of the things that sells that play so much is that Fondrick is a known goal scorer in this tournament. The goal coming with 4:06 remaining in the second period. And then patience, as if you make that pass too early, the goaltender is probably thinking that that's where you're going to go and is able to adjust in time. But if you sell the opportunity that you have both options, shooting or passing, it really puts the goaltender in a precarious spot. So Siegert capitalizing from Conrad Fondrick's 14th point in the tournament. This is just game number 5. He is a point away from averaging 3 per game. Picked up by Great Plains in their defensive end. Corton brings it in. Ingebrigtsen had to slam on the brakes and then extend the toe of the skate as far as possible in order to avoid an icing. This is Picanato. He'll wrap it around. Ingebrigtsen has plenty of time to make a decision, and he will float one out. Trying to tip that on was Sauer. They'll miss. Now coming over from left to right. Into the offensive zone goes O'Neill. O'Neill whistles a shot. Gloved at, and getting a piece of it was Nowlin, though it does float behind him. 2:23 remaining in the second, and using a little physics and some angles to get out of the zone of Great Plains. They have a trailer, and Huber, that is Cody Neeson in place of Landon Huber, and he makes a stop as Fondrick now waits. Fondrick fires upstairs. It takes an odd carom. You'd expect from that angle it would have kept rolling up the boards, but actually bounced back towards the net as it caught where the door on that side fits. 1:49 to go. Minnesota Fire on top, 3-1. Here in period number 2, the faceoff will come to their defensive, just outside their defensive blue line, as it was taken by Myers and won by the Fire. Siegert, with a goal moments ago, takes another crack at it. Official popping out of the way in time. Poked at by Kurtz. Kurtz stepping up, helped out by teammate Mikan, although neither able to prevent that from going into their defensive zone. But a last-minute ditch attempt to sweep that away works. Gets it out of the zone, and now Minnesota Fire back in business. using his body. Mikan able to steal that away from Lindbergh. Nowlin popped down quickly in the butterfly and then pops right back up as we're down to the final minute of play in the second. Luke Myers slams on the brakes, tied up by Lindbergh. Lindbergh waiting for some assistance and gets it. And coming in with speed is Jensen. Jensen got one man to get around. Backhand effort and a glove save by Neeson. Credit Brady Sorrentino for being the only thing preventing Jensen from having a clean breakaway. Jensen had no opportunity there but to go with a backhand shot from outside his body, and because of that, an easier opportunity for Neeson, although still a challenging save to make. Betzold with it, final 30 seconds of the second. Low shot, rebound, and a nice job there by the defenseman. Wasn't sure who was around him. Had a little bit more time and space than he thought, but not the time to find out where the opponents around you are actually occupying space. Cottingham just whistled it into the corner. Stepping up is Anderson. Anderson can't get to it. Can't keep it alive. 3 seconds left in the period. 2-1, and the horn will sound. But a couple of second period goals by Minnesota Fire's Stanius and Siegert give them a 3-1 lead going into our third frame. We'll take a step away from the action as the ice is zambonied, and we will be back with the concluding third period. Again, Minnesota Fire on top of Great Plains by a score of 3-1. You're watching the 2019 Western States Invitational on Youth Hockey Hub. Third period just about underway, 15 minutes up on the clock. Great Plains going from left to right, taking on Minnesota Fire, and Fondrick on the draw, controlled by Jensen and Great Plains. They trail by a score of 3-1, so they're going to need to open up things offensively if it doesn't develop that way naturally. Fondrick into the offensive zone from well wide on the left side and plays it around to the opposite side. One of the things I've noticed about the leading scorer in this division is that he doesn't force the issue. He has no problem cycling it around, playing patiently, and not giving the opposition opportunities. Here's Peck. Peck snaps a shot upstairs, no problem for the netminder. Gloved by the goalkeeper, and the Minnesota Fire electing to go with a goalie rotation, as it was to start the contest. The Minnesota Fire went with Huber, and now in his place is Neese. Neeson, excuse me, Cody Neeson in the black goaltender's helmet. Picked up, and Lindbergh run into, steps back up and tries to steal that puck right back. Anderson and the Fire on the forecheck. This will be sent around the boards, and looking to catch up to it was Betzold. Betzold has it stripped away. Anderson can't keep possession going the way of the Fire. They try to pass inside, and the intended target there for Great Plains was Corkish in the slot. Peterson able to wrap that around the boards. And now with it, Betzold tries a centering pass. Fire defend well and get it out of the zone. This will be ahead with it is Mikan taken down on the play and still able to get a shot off. Good defense, but adjusting well from the seat of his jersey. Able to come up with the shot attempt that sailed wide was. And now Anderson a little bit behind it, Braunhausen. It will eventually settle down for Sorrentino. He tries to make a D-to-D pass, and that was able to get through, but Great Plains nearly had that one picked off. Here's Fondrick. Fondrick, one man to get around, and getting his stick in the way is Picatino. That sends it up and over the cage. Giving chase is Thomas Kurtz. Kurtz will be aided by Braunhausen, the forward, as those two switch spots for the moment. Now Kurtz back in position defensively. He gets it to the goal line. Sent out front. And now countering is Sauer. Sauer loses a handle just before he goes into the offensive zone. That allows Fire to come away, and now they've got a 2-on-1. Here's Fondrick. Fondrick waits, tries to lull the goaltender to sleep and make him think that he was making the pass across to his right. Ends up firing that into the chest of Nowlin with 11:35 remaining. And after this game, we will go ice level for the championship presentation right here on Youth Hockey Hub. So stay with us after we wrap up a quick post-game recap. Core centering and moving it over for Jensen. O'Neill on the attack. O'Neill waits and feeds it to the point. That will escape Cottingham and elude the Fire's attempt to keep the point. Now back in their own defensive end and having to work to get it out. Over for Cottingham. Landon Cottingham finds a lane. It takes some creativity, but he goes up and then under. Unfortunately for him, at the other end, his teammate unable to catch up to it in time. O'Neill will now head off for a change. 10:51 left here in the third. Minnesota Fire control the draw in their own zone and will enter the offensive zone with all three forwards in line like Rockettes. Now separation as slipping it deep to Mikan was Fondrick. Fondrick now waiting patiently. Mikan tried to send it out front to him, and Lindbergh broke that up. Now here's Peterson. Peterson banks it ahead at the red line, turned over. Dumping it on and steered into the corner. Betzold. Betzold had his pass picked off. Fondrick able to come up with a steal. Nice, deft little one-touch by Mikan. Coming out of the zone is Peck. Peck in with Betzold, and Betzold beats him into the zone, so we will have an offside call with 9 minutes and 47 seconds left in regulation. Prior to last night's action and all the broadcasts, we were saying how much time was left in the game, but have to differentiate. This is how much time is left in regulation, as we will have the opportunity for overtime if need be. But at this point, Minnesota Fire would like to just put a bow on this one and call it quits, come away with the championship. They've got 9:25 left, and I have a feeling if the score remains as it is now with a 2-goal advantage for Minnesota Fire, we're going to see all the tricks, all the stops, and the proverbial kitchen sink will be thrown at the Fire from Great Plains. Comes out of the zone, Sorrentino sends it right back in. Minnesota Fire will touch up and then give chase, and now an opportunity. Here's a 2-on-1. He's got Sauer with him. Walking in is Core, firing, big save by the netminder. Coming up huge was Cody Neeson. Still in the offensive zone, and they'll talk it out. Here's Core. Core absorbs some contact, and no worse for the wear. Danny Clares switches over to Ingebrigtsen, who wastes no time giving it right back to him. Ingebrigtsen goes off for a change. Here's Clares leading the way and uses his opposition, Kurtz, as a screen, and a big one at that. Floated a pass on. Now Fire will counter. O'Neill cuts hard to the net, and upended there was Stanius as he tripped himself up. Nice job jockeying for position and getting that inside track. Gonna win a lot of derby races that way. Chipped around one man. Here's Jensen. Jensen, a rising shot, catches the netminder in the blocker, and he forces that up and over. Tracking it down is Cone. Cone exits stage right. Halfway point of this third period. Fondrick, strong on the puck, stays with it, feeds it to the right point. Looking for a deflection. Might have been more dangerous than the fact that it was left alone, but just off the mark. Here's O'Neill. O'Neill finds a man. It's Fondrick. Fondrick tries to go inside. O'Neill gathers back, and with a little handoff to Cone. It is football Sunday after all. Looked like a quarterback making the handoff to the running back. Wraparound attempt, and it is denied as Nowlin is able to make the stop. Nice job there by the official, seeing the net had come a little bit loose, but no action, no pucks coming towards it. No reason to stop play for that. He just slides over, adjusts on the fly, and away we go. And knocked down in that exchange was Peck. He was stripped of the puck, and now Minnesota Fire on in time and scoring. And that's a 2-on-1 development that the man going in with him won't get credited, But Jack Stanius scoring there, a big part of that was because Myers was with them. That really opens up opportunities and has to keep the netminder honest. 8 minutes, 28 seconds. The time of the goal here in period number 3. Stanius with his second of the game. He also has, if there were no more scoring in this contest, he has what would be the game winner. Jonas Cohn picking up the lone assist on that goal. Cohn with 3 points in the tournament, all helpers. Stanius now with a stat line that reads 4 and 2 for 6. They'll exit over to the right side and work deep. Siegert. This will take a carom off the back boards, bounce out, and now Betzold. Betzold goes from right to left. Bad break for Great Plains as it got caught up in the skate of the official. Fondrick leaves it there. I'm not sure that was intentional. Here's a drive and a save by the netminder, coming back and again. Fantastic play by Nowlin. Not 2, but 3 times it looked like he was going to get victimized there by an odd man rush, and a drive set up by Fondrick. Missing the cage was Anderson, but Minnesota Fire keep applying that pressure. And as long as the puck is in the offensive zone for Red, Great Plains is not going to be able to have any opportunity to try to come up with some late-minute heroics. Now an opportunity for an odd man rush, and it's stolen away. Waiting not long enough was Kurtz. However, coaching staff can hardly be upset there, as it looked like they'd gotten back onside, and even though it is an offside, it puts the puck at the Great Plains blue line, so they'll have to go 2/3 of the ice, and they'll have a hard time doing that with Minnesota Fire controlling the draw. Here's Cohn. Cohn feeds a pass through the inside. Myers up the right side, waiting, bodied, and fed to the point. Wrapped in deep by Cohn. A jousting match. And we will have a whistle with 4 minutes and 1 second left in the third. And a Great Plains player back on his feet, slow to get up, I believe. That's Cullen Ingebrigtsen. And it is indeed, he will come off the ice. Tommy Picconato in his place. Firing through traffic, up and over everybody. They call to get it to the point. That's exactly what they do, and Cohn tries to play it deep. Great Plains has had a couple opportunities here as of late, but have struggled as Nowlin makes the save with that breakout pass. That first play so critical to set the tone and really to get some organization going on a rush, and some bad luck in there, a few breaks that, or bounces that didn't go their way, but certainly not the crispest of passes that we've seen. O'Neill on the backhand effort. Nowlin comes up with a stop and keeps his squad alive. 3:06 to go. Great Plains will come in with speed. Peck, a 1-on-2. Peck nearly came up with that after all of that effort. It's swept away, and the Fire will chip it out. Now they've got a 3-on-1 rush the other way. Over for Fondrick, and he scores! And that was so well set up. It was a 3-on-1. I think the two players are going to argue over who got the last touch on it. The pass was Siegert, and coming in, both Mikan and Fondrick there. And that was one where as soon as Siegert sent that across, either one of them could have scored it. Perhaps they both did. But the most important thing for the Fire is they extend their lead 12 minutes and 17 seconds. The time of the goal, so Fondrick does get credited with the goal. Siegert, the primary assist, Mikan, the secondary. But I can tell you this, less of a concern for Minnesota Fire is who gets credited with goal number 5 as that rising shot creeps up on Neeson. They're just thrilled that they've got a 4-goal lead with under 2 minutes to play. And in backhand effort, Nowlin slides over and denies the effort there as Minnesota Fire's Mikan nearly came up with one on his own, had a secondary assist moments ago, nearly had a backhand goal. This will be broken up by Sorrentino and played from right to left. And that's just how this game goes. Great Plains for a while had a couple of really good looks. Peck with a fantastic effort. And because they have to take some chances they wouldn't in a tighter game, snapping a shot into the glove of the netminder. Great Plains denied there. It opens up opportunities on the counter. I always say that if you're a team with the lead, the last thing you want to do is play aggressive offensively. You know the other team's going to have to take some risks and play some long odds. Because of that, if you just defend well, you'll end up with scoring opportunities. That's exactly what developed for Minnesota Fire. Offside at the line. I thought Myers and his teammate were on the same page there and got it across, but the officials disagree. 66 seconds left in this 12U Gold Division Championship game, and the Minnesota Fire with a 4-goal lead. Here's Peck in the slot. Peck rips one into the chest of Neeson, and he will hold on and take the draw on his glove side. Again, stick around after this one goes final as we'll send it down ice level for the championship presentation. And the Minnesota Fire have certainly earned this one as they have not trailed in this game, withstood the pushback of the Great Plains as Great Plains tied it up in the first, but 2 in the second, and then late here, 2 in the third, making the score a little more lopsided right now than the play would indicate. But with 23 seconds left, still fighting and scoring, Peck is able to bring that in. He rips it upstairs, getting the goal with 22.1 left on the clock. This is going to be Trey Peck's goal. Primary assist will be handed out to Owen Korkish. 14:38 time of the goal. And 10 seconds remaining. Minnesota Fire in the offensive zone looking for one last sending of the puck up the ice. 3, 2, 1, and it is a championship here at the Western States Invitational. Gold Division goes the way of Minnesota Fire. Great Plains with a fantastic showing, 4-1 on the tournament, but Minnesota Fire finish undefeated. Quick scoring summary, Luke Myers got things going for the Fire at 104 from Max Anderson. Gavin McNeil leveled the playing field at 5:01 of the first from Tommy Picconato. Then in the second period, at 9:53, Jack Stanius scoring from Andrew O'Neill, and then Cooper Siegert turns out to be the game winner at 10:54 of the second period from Conrad Fondrick. Jack Stanius would give the Fire a 3-goal lead at 8:28 of the third period from Jonas Cohn, and then Conrad Fondrick scoring the last Fire goal at 12:17 from Cooper Siegert and Michael Mikan. And then in the closing seconds to make it 5-2, Trey Peck from Owen Corkish. Again, Greg Tinty, our game producer, engineer, and camera operator. My name is Eric Zamora. We thank you so much for joining us, and we will send it down ice level for the championship presentation. Again, your 2019 Western States Invitational U12 Gold Champions, Minnesota Fire, as they're victorious 5-2 over Great Plains. You've been watching the Western States Invitational on Youth Hockey Hub.
Coaches for putting together great hockey teams. Coach Jesse Ramirez for the Minnesota Fire, Ben Wine and John Clares. Big shout out to those guys for great hockey teams. Please give them a round of applause. On the Great Plains side of the ice, shout out to the back end defensive core led by Henry Peterson. Henry had a great tournament this weekend. Good to see you in a Great Plains uniform and playing in these kind of events. Front, Gavin Cord, Trey Peck, and Ryder Betzold, they all had great weekends. Shout out to you guys for great hard work and a good weekend. On the Fire side of the ice, you just keep going down the line. Every one of the defensemen on that defensive core is outstanding. Great job of you guys, Tommy and Landon Cottingham, all those guys in the back end make your team such a strong team. Two great goaltenders, great force up front with your forwards, Luke Myers, Andrew O'Neill, Mike N. It's just a fun group to watch. Congratulations to the Fire on winning. Our tournament MVP with a bunch of points as usual, Conrad Bondurek. Please come up.